tras haber salido de la Unión Europea. Entre tanto, vamos, sin embargo, a seguir tomándole el pulso a la inversión. Lo vamos a hacer en los próximos minutos con Masja Zandbergen, directora de integración ASG en Robeco. Good morning, good afternoon.
Buenos días, good afternoon.
How is sustainable investment now? It's been suffering due to the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, we've had a tough year, I think, in 2022 for sustainable investing, and there were a few reasons for this. First of all, performance. I mean, the markets declined dramatically, of course, equities and fixed income, but the energy sector really outperformed. And also defensive sectors like food staples and utilities outperformed, and growth stocks underperformed. And in general, sustainable funds tend to invest more in growth stocks and less in the traditional energy sector and in the utility sector. So performance-wise, it wasn't a great year. Secondly, some asset managers were accused of greenwashing. And I think we've all seen this news, and this has made asset managers more cautious and more careful about what they are saying about sustainable investing, what they are promising their clients, and also maybe retreating a little bit from commitments that they made in the past. And then thirdly, and lastly, there is a clear anti-ESG movement in the US. The direct impact is relatively small, we believe, because it really affects state funds in those states that are Republican. But the indirect effects can be quite large. For example, when we look at the Net Zero Insurance Alliance, 5 big global insurance companies that promised to go to net zero on carbon emissions in 2050, they left that alliance, apparently due to growing political pressure. So these are 3 main issues that were clearly a headwind for sustainability in 2022, and also still some of them are still continuing this year.
Sum up, talking about long term, which are 3 factors which will make sustainable investment a good investment nowadays?
Yeah, I think sustainable investing is still very much alive. And why? Because it is indeed supported by some very important long-term trends. First of all, sustainability issues have become really financially relevant. So investors need to look at those. Let's give some examples. Renewable energy has completely changed the way the utility business works and the networks, etc. Electrical vehicles have changed the automotive market. And for example, things like data privacy have become more relevant when it comes to internet companies. So sustainability is really impacting shareholder value, and investors need to take that into account, I think. Secondly, there's a very clear client demand, and that's globally. And some clients are still at a very early stage, thinking about what they want to do when it comes to sustainable or ESG investing. But some clients are really very much at the forefront, and we are seeing that group that is at the forefront really growing and demanding sustainable investments. And issues like climate change, I mean, look at the forest fires today in Canada, or the fires today in Canada. I think Spain has had its share of climate-related issues as well. The climate change, loss of biodiversity, you know, they're really becoming very apparent in day-to-day life. So society is waking up and saying, hey guys, corporates, financial sector, you need to take these things into account. What can you do? And then lastly, regulation is also catching up, and regulation across the globe. And this is not only in Europe, but we're seeing regulation in Asia as well, looking at, you know, what are green taxonomies. But even in the US, the SEC is preparing some guidelines for corporates on that they should actually a report on how climate change is affecting their business and what are the risks that they are seeing. So, you know, these 3 trends are really supporting sustainable investing in the long run.
So how is sustainable investment regulated, the Article 8, 9?
Yeah, so SFDR in Europe is a very important regulation for asset managers. First of all, it started with the classification, Article 6, 8, 9. And it's really about transparency. So it's not a label. It's about what do you need to show as an investor what you are doing. And you should show which strategies take into account, which ESG factors, and what that results in. And Article 8 is a very broad category, it turns out. I think almost 80% of Article 8 and Article 9 is Article 8. So what we are seeing now is that we are moving the discussion to what are you actually doing in the fund? What is your percentage of sustainable investment? How much carbon emissions do you have? What is the gender diversity in your portfolio, in the boards, in the companies that you invest in? So all these specific issues are now things that we need to be transparent about as an asset management industry. And this will then move the discussion towards, which portfolios are actually scoring really well on sustainability issues and which are doing a little bit less.
Masja Zandbergen, directora de integración ASG and Robeco, thank you so much for being at Negocios Televisión.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Una